Hi guys, welcome to another garden tour. It's November 1st. Why am I doing a garden tour? Why not? That's what I say. If you like this video, think about giving it a thumbs up, subscribing on the link down below, and let's get this thing started, okay? In interesting news, these straw flowers are interesting looking. I don't know. I need to clean this out. Hey, we still have some parsley growing over there. We have had a couple of freezing temps at night. They kind of killed everything. Those died. This is still empty, although we do have some weeds. Those died. The tomatoes, they didn't make it. I need to get in here and get this bed cleaned out. Haven't done that yet. I did get the drip irrigation unhooked because of the freezing temperatures. That bed is empty. I don't know about the onions. I haven't done anything with them. More onions. Empty. All of my marigolds died. My lysianthus died. I need to pull the habanero peppers because they went kaput with the freezing temperatures. I've been working on weeding the strawberry bed, although you would be shocked at how deep these roots really are. It's kind of been a pain. We have been working on weeding the ground a little bit. Pulled all these lysianthus that was already empty. Coming over here, all of the zinnias that were lining the outside of the garden are gone thanks to the freezing temperatures. I've been trying to get this weeded out simply because we're going to plant garlic probably this weekend. We were going to 2 weeks ago and we just flat ran out of time. You'll see why we ran out of time here in just a minute. So we didn't get that done. I've kind of just let these weeds sit in here, hoping that maybe they would go ahead and die some more with the cold temps that we've had at night, and maybe it'd make weeding it easier, because it has not been an easy venture. They're grounded like crazy. I got all of that cleaned out. I did get all the tomatoes pulled. In fact, they're over there in a pile. I left the tomatoes themselves. I still have a bunch of. My mother-in-law said that it would be funny coming out here next spring and just have a whole lot of voluntary tomatoes. But I don't think that's going to be the case, although it might. We worked on weeding between the beds. We pulled most of the stuff out of this bed. Really, all that was left in this bed was the mystery eggplant plants and a bunch of weeds. We got them pulled out. I still have the eggplant plants in this bed and weeds that need to be pulled here. This one is just mainly weeds and debris. We need to get in between the beds. This is the potatoes, and I'm gonna laugh again because they died off. The greens were all potatoes, and they all died off, like those over there by the light, when we had the cold freeze come through. And now they're coming back yet again. So potatoes are interesting to me right now. They're interesting. I've got some drip line that's been buried apparently, and some that's going off that way. More potatoes, again sprouting. Doesn't make sense. The freeze went ahead and killed the huckleberry, and I don't know what happened to the berries, so it looks like they're still on there and they just decided to kind of go away. I pulled some of this out, but I still have a bunch of debris that needs to be cleaned out of it. I got those peppers pulled. They're actually sitting in my pile right there. We've got the onions. I did get the Swiss chard pulled. It's sitting in the box, the pile of stuff over there. It's not a box. I got these trimmed back. That got emptied. I don't know what to do with the pineapple. He didn't do anything. I tried everything they said to do on the internet, and he didn't do anything. More onions. I got this emptied. The basil all died, so I need to get it pulled out of here. And then this is why we ran out of room, or out of time, because I bought 26 or 28 marigolds. So we have one there. This one, and this one were from another batch from the same place, but it bought at a different time. And then there's that one. Most of this is all dyed. We got that cleaned out. Yes, I did say 26 marigolds. Maybe it was 28. It was 28. It was 16 the first time. Or no, it was 12 the first trip to town and 16 the second trip to town. So we have the rose bush. The rose bush actually needs to be trimmed back. He's getting pretty tall. He actually has not had anything staking him up. So he's really deep down here at the base, as you can tell. So he's done pretty well, especially with some of the winds we had a few weeks ago. I did get in here, and as you can tell, I have mulched just this little bed right here. This mum here was actually bought at a different place than the 28. This was the one that was on my back patio that was in the last garden video where I said I wanted to show it off. The red, the kind of red maroon is fading out, but the purple and the yellow is still really pretty. The butterfly bush has decided to go. This was one of, so this one was not actually bought with the 28. It was bought the day before the 28. So technically I bought 30 in 2 days. We got this all weeded out and mulched. That one came from Menards. That's kind of been cleaned out, but not really. That needs to be weeded. The ones up on the porch, meh. The flower hanging high that's not doing good is not. This one here was bought at the same time as the one in the other container. This was the marigold that was bought in 2020. Our mailman is sitting at the mailbox, probably thinking I'm crazy because I'm out here videoing and talking to myself. I need to get more mulching done. Those need to be pulled. Those need to be cleaned. This needs to be pulled, although look at this. We have some real pretty purple flowers that are kind of voluntary. I have no idea what they are or where they're coming from. That marigold there was in the 30. It was one from the first day. The first day I bought 2 for $3. The second day we bought 28 for $2 a piece. So, and they are hardy mums. Now, I've been asked a bunch of questions about mums, and mums are supposed to be, from what my understanding, mums are supposed to be hardy. And if you treat them correctly, you can actually overwinter them and they will come back next year. If you put them in pots, you have to put them up against a house or a building, and if it gets really cold where you live, you want to put some of the clear plastic over them, because all winter long they still need to be getting some of those sun rays. But I think as long as you're in no colder than a zone 5, you can actually overwinter them in pots. Now my 2 big pots here are kind of up against the house, but the wind comes from the west across the front of the house toward the east. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to find some plastic to cover them if it gets really cold. But this guy over here, he's been like that, and I've never done anything other than I leave all of his foliage on until sometime like January, February, simply because it kind of helps feed him a little bit with the greens. Plus, it gives a little bit of protection. And if you mulch, which I have not mulched him, well, I don't think I mulched any at all this year, but I don't think I mulched last year either. Anyway, if you mulch them, that gives them another added layer of warmth in the winter. But they say that you can keep them in pots, and then come like January, February, maybe even early March, right before your last frost date, you can trim it all back and they will go ahead and come back. And I've trimmed the guy over in the yard over there. I trimmed him all the way down to the ground, and he came back, and has for the last 2 years. So I'm gonna go with the fact that he is at least a perennial. Now, I did find a picture where I planted 2 of him right there and only 1 survived. So it's probably hit and miss, but it's that way with any perennial. Sometimes they just don't make it. When it comes to spring, I go ahead and I cut them back and I fertilize them, water them all summer. Now, the one thing about mums is kind of this here is their mum shape. Like, that's what you think of with a mum. This one was also one from the back patio, by the way. Anyway, this is what you think of when you think of a mum, like a shape. So the way that I have seen that you get them to do that come next fall is you will pinch them back all spring and summer until they start putting on the flower buds. Once they put on the flower buds, you do not want to pinch them back anymore. And they're supposed to go ahead and dome around and stay kind of nice and small and bushy, whereas my one over in front of the porch, he gets huge. So I don't know, that's just something I've recently stumbled across, because finding a lot of information hasn't really been the easiest thing. So if you have any information about mums, let me know. Here are my Arctic Fire dogwoods. That's what they are. I always forget. And actually, I'm quite surprised. This kale here, it's ornamental kale, and that one there are still doing well. And they haven't been watered other than it rained last week and this week. But we are still really dry. Now, here is another rose. And this is that orange rose that you'll see all summer long. My understanding with roses is they are perennials and they will last down to, like, I think a zone 5. But they also say that you should cover them and all kinds of stuff. Unfortunately, either I'm lazy or something, because I never cover them. And so far, knock on wood, both of my roses have come back doing really, really well. This here needs to be cleaned out. And then I came in with 6 mums, and we planted them here. Now, they are starting to look bad, and they actually got caught up in that freeze that we had in the pots that they were started in, I would assume, or at least transplanted in. So they don't look the best, but it is getting late in the season, and that's what happens. Now, you can come in and you can deadhead them, which sounds so funny, but basically you just come in here, you go right below the head and pull it off, deadhead them. And especially earlier in the fall, if you deadhead them, supposedly they will go ahead and put on more flowers, but I have not ever tried that. It's just something else that I read. I did cut back all of the hibiscus because they were starting to get a little obnoxious. Plus, we came in and cut out all the weeds. So we have that going for us. This still looks really bad. I need to get in here and weed it and then go ahead and mulch it. But it looks better than it did earlier this summer. So I guess I'll take that as a win, because we did pull quite a few weeds when we decided to plant these. Now, last but certainly not least are more mums from the 28th. I did wind up planting, 8 of them at my parents' house in their garden, because I just kind of ran out of places to plant mums here. But we came in with my tiller. As you can see, I kind of roughed up the ground, and I planted 6 mums on this side of my driveway. So they kind of make a funky triangle. And then my oldest and I planted over, well, I think we were right at 100 bulbs in this bed, spring bulbs, spring and like early summer, and 100 bulbs in the other one that we did, and I'll show you in here in a minute. But we had bearded lady irises, And then we had irises. I don't know if they were different or not. They came from different places. We planted hyacinths. We planted tulips. Oh my gosh, we planted tulips. Boy, did we plant tulips. But they are just sporadically put into this triangle. So hopefully, with the 100 bulbs in this bed, we will have some real pretty flowers come the spring. We'll have to watch that. What was really funny is my oldest was being very meticulous in where she planted everything. Now, I did come in right here, and there's one right there, one right here, and one in this area, and that is the bearded lady irises that I know for sure they were called that. They got planted right there. Everything else, I told her just kind of place it as you see fit. Now, here is the other triangle, and it's a different shaped triangle because, one, a lot of people use my yard to get farm machinery in and out from way over there by the other garden. These got planted a little more. There's like 1 and then 2 and then 3, and it kind of hits from every corner of the triangle that way. And then I planted the 3 bearded lady irises. Like, 1 is here, 1 is here, and 1 is here. Otherwise, that was the difference between my oldest and myself. She was going around and meticulously planting all the different bulbs wherever. And I was being lazy. And I was sitting right about here on the ground, chucking bulbs. And wherever they landed is where I planted them. And that's how I decided where to plant them. And if you think I'm kidding, I am not. I was tired. I was hot. It wasn't like an extremely hot day, but it was 80 degrees sitting in the sun. And so I planted, again, about 100 bulbs. Now, the one thing I did tell her, and I also did myself, is like when we planted the tulips, I said plant them in groups or clusters. So I wound up planting like somewhere between 3 and 5 tulips per cluster. So I would grab a handful of tulips and just chuck them. I might even have a video of that. I don't know. I was getting tired after planting all the mums because this ground was so stinking hard. We hadn't had any rain. And like I said, I came in with my tiller and tried to till it up, and you can kind of see that. The leaves have kind of covered the ground, which is fine. That's a good mulch for them. I'm still not done with this because I do plan on coming in with mulch, but I just have not taken the time yet. But I was getting tired, I was getting hot, I was getting frustrated. So like I said, I'd just pick them up in handfuls and chuck them. And honestly, I only unburied 1 hyacinth in trying to plant tulips. So that was exciting. I had 1 bag of 50 tulips. So 25 came in this one, 25 in the other one. We had a bag of 42, so we divided that out. We had the 6 bearded lady irises, and then one of the, I can't remember if it was the irises or the hyacinths, came out to a weird number. So to offset the weird number, because I would have had to divide a 5 into 2 gardens, which is like 2.5, which doesn't work real well. I took 5 and planted them down in the garden by the wheelbarrow. I believe they were irises, but again, I'm not really sure. I don't remember because it was like 45 irises. So we put whatever it was, we put 20 in one, 20 in the other, and 5 down the way. And then the hyacinths, and I don't remember how many hyacinths there were. But anyway, between the 2 beds, there are over 200 bulbs. So it'll be interesting to see what comes about next spring. Now, last fall, I came in here alongside these rocks. I came to the outside, not the end, but the outside, and I planted 50 tulip bulbs. And if I remember right, I had something like 42 of them come up this spring. When I bought the original 50 tulips, They got planted down in the new beds, new flower beds. I was actually going to finish out because I didn't actually get to finish this out. It stopped somewhere around, and I'm not even sure, but I think we're somewhere around here-ish where my tulips stopped because I ran out and I still have that far to go. So I bought the 50 tulips and planned on coming in this fall and planting this on out. And then that didn't happen because I planted them down by the driveway. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what comes about next spring. So to help water in the mums that were down at my parents' house, we actually loaded up one of my clean water tank holding tanks right here up on our little trailer. Stole the receiver hitch out of my truck, put it on our gator, and drug it around using my husband's Milwaukee pump and watered the mums in down at my parents' house because they don't have, some of the places I put them, there's no access to water. So anyway, that was fun and exciting. There is the November garden tour on November the 1st, 2022. So, I like the word so, apparently. It'll be interesting to see any and all of those bulbs actually come out next spring. It'll be exciting. I hope you stay around for it. So think about giving us a thumbs up, subscribing on the link down below. If you have any tips or tricks, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye!